والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. We thank Allah the Almighty for affording us another opportunity to come and meet and of course continue with our lesson on Quranic sciences. Today's discussion basically is a continuation of what we have been doing over the past 2 weeks. The other week, we basically made a highlight of salient features of Meccan revelations, and I wish to know how far have you understood that. Okay, so what are the most important characteristics of Meccan revelations? Who can remind us? What did we say about Meccan revelations? We did say that they have their own features, something that distinguishes them from Medinan revelations. So, what specifically differentiates Meccan revelation from Medinan revelations? Sorry, we did talk about Meccans, okay? So what did we say about that? What did we say about that later? Meccan revelations. I wish.
Has been revealed before Hijrah, and most of the surah start with the word Kalam.
Yeah, very good. Basically, most of them are very short, and of course, they are concise, and the message was very powerful, given the fact that it was addressing some people who were basically high-profile, eloquent poets of their time. So there is need for them, for the message to be sophisticated enough to, face their challenge. So today, inshallah, we will move on to see the characteristics of Medina revelations. Okay, so there we go. Basically, the fundamental difference between Meccan and Medina revelations is that Meccan revelations were basically short, concise, and of course straight to the point, and very eloquent, as I say. But when it comes to Medina revelations, they are usually lengthy. Okay, they are lengthy. Take an example of Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Ali Imran, Surah Al-A'raf. Virtually all these 3 chapters have over 200 verses. Okay, and of course, the most important difference between the two is that they are not as eloquent as Medina revelations. So Meccan revelations were by far more eloquent, but Medina revelations were less eloquent, given the fact that the the Muslims, were people who had their iman. Iman had already, got deeper into their heart, so that they didn't challenge the message, so they didn't need to. The message was not that, sophisticated enough to convince them, because they are already convinced. Okay, so they are not as eloquent as Meccan revelations, because the challenge of kuffar was less. In other words, Islam had already consolidated in Medina, and there was no any challenge from kuffar whatsoever. Let's quickly move to the next point. Medinan chapters essentially contain a comprehensive statement regarding Islamic law, practical injunctions, and words, and in issues related to mu'amalat, ibadat, and other. For example, prayer. It was after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated to Medina that it was established as a form of physical worship. And secondly, we have a long detailed explanation of transactions, of how transactions were to be made. issues related to how to buy and how to sell, how to, engage in a civil contract, marriage, divorce, and all that. They also include detailed explanation concerning Islamic legal injunctions in relation to civil and criminal laws, as well as Islamic family law. For example, if someone kills someone, okay, the rule is that he must be killed. وَالنَّفْسُ بِالنَّفْسِ. This was understood where? In Medinan surahs. And for example, if someone steals people's property, the injunction basically was to cut off his hand from as far as his wrist. So essentially, the overall picture of the message of the Deen revelation revolved around consolidating principles of legal injunctions, okay, and teaching Muslims how to make their transactions in light of Islamic teachings, okay, and finally, it is in Medinan chapter that Muslims were given permission to strive in the way of Allah, to make jihad. Jihad was permitted only after Muslims migrated to Medina, because it was, basically unreasonable to enjoin Muslims in Mecca to defend themselves or to strive for jihad, because their number was relatively lower than that when they are in Medina. The chapters include explanation of its rules, regulations, and legal injunctions. For example, Allah the Almighty in Surah Al-Hajj says, وَذِنَ لِلَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَ بِأَنَّهُمْ ظُلِمُوا. Permission was given to those who were persecuted to fight back. Tit for tat, his words, is a fair play. So Muslims have long been victims of persecution, molestation, and all sorts of persecutions. So, given the fact that they had more power after migration to Medina, Allah the Almighty now permitted them to strengthen their determination and fight back. Before this message, before this verse, essentially Muslims were not allowed even to defend themselves. In other words, jihad was not compulsory, was not even allowed. Do you get that? So Muslims were not allowed to fight even for self-defense. And of course, it was until after this verse was revealed that Muslims now understood that it was now, part of their Islamic duty to respond. Medinan chapters provide inspiration for the believers and galvanize them spiritually to face the challenges of da'wah. Da'wah involves sacrifice, involves giving out what you cherish. Okay, it doesn't matter whether it is your wealth, it doesn't matter whether it is your father, whether it is your son, whether it is your wife. So companions of the Prophet ﷺ showed literally a practical example of how da'wah was to be carried out. But then the revelation finally revealed the identity, exposed the identity of munafiqun regarding their hostility, envy, and of course their antagonism toward Islam, and of course the message that the Prophet of Islam was holding. We knew that when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ migrated to Medina, there was relatively a few number of munafiqun surrounding him. So for some reasons, he decided to remain with them as a leader, as a kind of diplomatic skills of a leader to take everyone on board. But at a stage, it came to the point that this munafiqun were to be exposed. So specifically after Surah At-Tawbah was revealed. So in the beginning, the surah started with a strong message to those munafiqun, وَمِنْهُمْ وَمِنْهُمْ. Their identity was not yet revealed until after, the middle of the surah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now says, Al-Munafiqun wal-Munafiqat, after saying, وَمِنْهُمْ hundreds of times. So he now decided to expose their secret and reveal their identity. Characteristics of kuffar, unbelievers, were also discussed in detail but in chapters like Surah Al-Baqarah, for example, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَنذَرْتَهُمْ. From there onwards, basically those 5-6 verses were discussing on al-munafiqun, al-kuffar and all that.